It's been a little time since there was a Prospector mining video up on the channel, and in that time there have been some fairly big updates to the mining gameplay loop. No longer is every rock a one-size-fits-all solution, but there's more room for variety of sizes and styles. I'm Forrester, and that's what you'll see in this video, taking half an hour of time to do some mining with the Prospector. Some of the footage has been sped up to keep the overall length of the video down, and as you probably aren't too concerned about watching a long quantum travel hop, but those parts have been clearly marked as sped up. The rest is pure gameplay. And this mining trip starts by entering the Prospector from the hangar of the Refinery station. This is much the same as you would expect from previously. It's just a case of hopping in, hopping aboard, and hopping to your destination. One of the big changes in previous patches, most miners would go out for the most profitable materials, the likes of Quantanium. With these changes, there's much more room for medium profit outings. So for example, in this run, we'll not necessarily be going for the most lucrative, we'll be looking for something that can fill up the Prospector with some reasonable materials in a decent space of time. As the hangar doors open before we make our way to MicroTech. This is one of the nice changes about mining in the most recent patches. Previously, some of the planet locations, MicroTech, Hurston, etc., you probably wouldn't really want to be going down and mining on the surface so much, simply because the atmosphere is so thick as we speed up the footage through quantum travel that you lose a lot of time travelling down to the surface of the planet versus if you were going to a moon and you can just head straight down and the atmosphere is relatively thin. However, this change means that sometimes the planets can be a good place to get some decent materials, and that's what we're hoping to show in this video. So at this point I'm just selecting our quantum travel destination. So ordinarily, if you're doing some sort of peaceful gameplay, mining, salvage, trading, you want to avoid the places where people go regularly, so stay off the beaten path. That's because sometimes you will encounter players who aren't so keen on your peaceful gameplay and would rather play their own way. So by choosing a quantum destination carefully, you can still make some decent progress without having to fly all the way down to the planet's surface from one of the orbital markers, but hopefully staying off the beaten path. So in this case, by choosing the emergency shelter, there isn't a lot of reason for combat-oriented players to go looking for you here, and that's why I chose that location. Then it's a case of, I've sped up the footage here, flying down to the surface of the planet and starting to scan for ore. So some people will use the proper scanning modes, just as all of my mining really, I tend not to bother. I do most of my scanning in just regular flight mode. Get some nice external views here of the Prospector flying through the MicroTech sky. Snow-capped mountains, trees. Lovely. There we are. That tends to be the reason that I would use external view in the game, is just to have oh, that's a nice sort of moment. Get a screenshot of that, I think. So there, first potential something at 6 kilometers. Just popped up slightly to the right. And at 6 kilometers, that is probably going to be an ore deposit. So, much like in previous patches, there is a hierarchy of the most valuable ores. Quantanium is still way up there on the top, but there's a little bit more variance at the lower end, I find. And the other big difference is that not everything is mineable. So here we've got a cluster of rocks. There's a good chance that the larger rocks here would not be mineable. With the Prospector, you'd have to bring either multiple Prospectors or perhaps even a mole to break through. And at a mass of 18,000, that's probably one such rock. Now, I say this cautiously because there are people that might find that they're able to do that through use of gadgets, through selecting their mining lasers, etc. I've certainly found that where it says impossible on the mining screen, it does not mean impossible in the literal sense, it just means extremely difficult. That said, the whole point of these changes is that suddenly not everything has to be mined by everything. So what I'm doing here is I'm scanning the rocks, I'm looking for something that is breakable and relatively profitable. And in this case, Bexolite is pretty good. So we'll break this rock and grab the materials. Now, even with the mining changes, sometimes you still get this situation where it's almost as if the laser is not breaking through. I think that's just part and parcel of the resistance and instability, with a little bit of server level resistance and instability, shall we say, in the background. But usually a bit of persistence will pay off, and if all else fails, either moving the ship around the rock again, or perhaps just flying off and coming back and hoping for a nicer break. So the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice on the lower left, this is the Klein S1 mining laser. There are some different lasers out there. They have much more of an impact, I find, in this patch, depending on what you select. So things like your optimal rate charge, your overcharge rate charge, the size of that optimal window. Much more impactful choice by choosing a mining head this patch than it has been in previous. The Klein is for a couple of reasons. I think the first is it's a fairly balanced mining head. So what I mean by that is there are some more, more punchy or more powerful mining lasers, or lasers that have more space for equipping some gadgets. Or I shouldn't say gadgets, because there are actually gadgets you put on the rock now, but you can equip some actual mining modules. That's what the word I'm looking for at the front. The Klein doesn't have room for any of those. But given the changes to the nature of rocks that you're looking at, I'm no longer finding myself as concerned about finding a laser that will break everything, because I know that that's quite difficult. So instead, the balance of performance that the Klein offers, and the fact that it's a very cheap mining head, was the reason for the choice. So this seems to be a good position as well. I can see the charge level on the right is now bouncing up. A little bit of overcharge. I'll just back off here and let the rock break. You could see by the amount of time it took for that to break that this server is not the most responsive, which is why it was a bit of a challenge keeping that mining intensity, charge level right. So here I'm looking for the Bexolite. That was what I was interested in from this deposit. The Bexolite was one of the more profitable rocks. And that's 40% Bexolite. We'll hoover that up. One of the other nice changes in this patch is that, and maybe this is just perception, right? I need to go back and look at some old videos, so you can tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, but it feels like the Prospector fills up more quickly. Just watching the cargo scale on the right hand side kind of fly up the screen, it seems to be faster. I don't know. Probably not. That's my perception. Move a bit closer into optimal range. And this rock is bouncing around a little bit on the screen. Chose not to grab that one at this time just because there was a lot of inert materials in there as well. So the quartz, at least I can sell the quartz, but the inert materials is of really no use to anyone. Okay, so at this point I've got a little bit of Bexlite in the cargo, so I'm now looking for something else. It doesn't need to be perfect. So because I've already got some Bexlite, I've got some profit in there at the moment. I know that I'm not necessarily going to be able to fill up the Prospector if I find the perfect rock, because I've already got some stuff in the cargo bay. Well, in the ore bags, I should say. So I'm just looking for something that will do for filling up the Prospector. At this point, flew down to the planet's surface, found a rock, got some stuff in there. Nice external view there, the Prospector. And so I'm just looking for something else. It doesn't need to be the most profitable, just something to fill me up before I go back to the station and try and make this a quick trip.
Extraction mode on. Mining mode on.
Plenty of rocks here to explore, to look at. And again here, I'm not necessarily looking for the perfect rock. I've got 12 SCU of my 32 SCU already, so just something that is enough. So if you are wondering, Red Monster SC, fantastic resource for mining, so well worth a look. But generally the hierarchy that I look at is, well, Quantanium's still at the top. If there's a nice Quantanium rock, I'll still look at that. Then gold is really good, Terranite and Bexlite, and those are kind of the top tier. If Quantanium is S tier, those three would be the A tier minerals. But then you could also fill up with some reasonable profit from some of the other smaller materials. So diamond, laranite, borates are all reasonable. But all of that you can find in the mining cheat sheets. I can't recommend it enough. As well as some great mining videos either on stream or on YouTube. So Red Monster SC, definitely worth a look. So this is just literally just floating around each of the rocks, having a look at it. I'm looking at the contents of the rock. What's the mineral content? Is that something that I want? As well as, is it actually breakable? So for example, that rock is a hard crack for the Prospector, probably just about breakable. But some of the others, some of the larger ones wouldn't be. Or wouldn't be with the loadout that I have with me, I should say. I just find MicroTech quite a nice, peaceful place to fly around. I just like all of the snow, the trees, the mountains, forests. Lovely place, MicroTech. So I've almost scanned all of the rocks now, so it's quickly approaching decision point, unless I can find something ideal in the short term. Reorient myself. So I'm now on the back side of the mountain that I flew in on. So I'm going to head back up to the top because there were some okay rocks up here. So this one is 50% borates. It's crackable with the Prospector, so I'm going to break this one up and grab some of that borates. So that borates is in that, I think I called it the B tier of the tier list for minerals. It's not the best, but that said, you know, you wouldn't sniff at having a few crates of it up for sale. Now this is one of the other changes, is the minimum laser intensity. It varies depending on the mining head that you've got equipped. So for this mining head, the minimum intensity is 15%, but that means that rather than necessarily modulating the power, that's something that it perhaps used to do, sometimes it's literally, in a case like that, switch off, switch on to modulate it. So in these rocks I'm looking for the high borates content. 50% was okay, I'm just seeing if there are any that are higher, just in case, in the unlikely event that I fill up this cargo bay. And that's 75%, so we'll definitely grab that. Really interested in the quartz, certainly not interested in the inert materials. About 50% borates. So it looks like I probably will have to grab those half and half rocks, but that's fine. About 50%. Is 50%. So at this point I'm going to grab these and fill up. You can see how quickly that cargo bay is totting up, so this will probably be enough to go back to station with. Oh, that's 95% borates, that'll certainly do. It's 51, 45, 43. So I'll grab the 51%, and I'll just do these in order of the highest content of borates. There we are, 30 SCU, so almost full. 45 is bigger than 43, so I'll grab this one. There we go, full.
Storage full.
And then we'll head back to the refinery. There you are, nice little external shot of the Prospector there, heading back up to orbit. Lovely. So from MicroTech, one of my favourite refineries is the Mike L1 station. That's where we came from, so that's where we're going to go back to. I've got a few ships there, so it's a helpful place to start and finish. The other good thing is it's not too far, so if you've got potentially some quantanium that you've found, or you've been very lucky, then it's not too far to be worried about the volatility of your cargo. So this has been an example of a fairly short mining trip. So the whole trip end to end from leaving the refinery to getting back to the refinery, once we've been back through quantum travel obviously, is almost exactly 30 minutes. So half an hour to fill up, get to the destination, drop the goods off and drop back. We're quite lucky in finding some rocks fairly quickly after getting down to the planet's surface, but equally, I'm sure you saw, hopefully you agree, I wasn't very picky about the rocks that I chose. Pretty much said, do you know what, that's good enough, that'll do, I'll grab that. And so that half an hour end to end seems pretty reasonable. Here I'm just gonna jump out of atmosphere to anywhere to get out of the atmosphere, cancel the quantum travel, and then set my proper route. We're not going to go to Mike L5 in a Prospector, that might take a while. Mike L1, we'll go there. So your exact margins for a short hop like this will depend on what materials you actually bring back and the method that you select at the refinery station. But if you can get a couple of these trips in within an hour, you could make some fairly decent returns from it. I've started doing this now. I read about this in the YouTube comments in one of my videos, so I think this is visible proof that I read the comments. But by hovering away from the destination whilst the cooldown is running on the quantum drive, you avoid that thing where you press the button and nothing happens. So I'll always look away while that red cooldown bar is on now, and then once that's gone, then I'll move over to calibrate, just to avoid having to recalibrate later on. So it does take a little bit more time every time, but I think saves in the long run for that bug. Well, I remember as well, a lot of you have been asking for more of these Star Citizen gameplay videos. So actually a short hop like this, doing some mining or some combat or some salvage or whatever it is. But I do notice in some of those videos, whilst there are many of you watching, over half of you aren't yet subscribed to the channel. So if you are looking out for more of these Star Citizen gameplay type videos, you really might want to subscribe. That will give YouTube the nudge to say, hey, Ferris just put a new video up, you might want to watch it. So it all feeds into helping you see the stuff that you want to see. As we're coming into land at the refinery station. And hopefully from those stats that I was able to share with you there, the fact that you know that I read the comments, you do know that I look at the likes and dislikes on a video, so that again guides me as to the sort of thing that I should be doing. So I do look at all of that. So every time that you leave a comment or you press the like button or the dislike button, that's really helpful for me, for my planning of actually what is it that you would like to see next as my audience. Alright, landed here. So now it's just a case of heading to the refinery deck and seeing what we've got. So it's a little bit different mining in this patch, or certainly mining the way that I am in this patch than previously. I'm actually quite enjoying it. It's forcing me to spend more time breaking rocks and doing actual mining than looking for the one perfect rock, and I'm quite enjoying that. I'm being less picky about specifically going out and looking for something, and I'm just grabbing whatever rocks that I find that I think will make some decent money, and that's quite satisfying actually. You know, to do a whole mining trip end to end here within 30 minutes, not necessarily finding the most profitable, the S tier or even the A tier rocks, but something that will generate a decent profit, and then getting back out and getting some more mining done. Have to let me know in the comments if you're enjoying that too. So here we are, we've got Bexlite, Borase, Quartz. I always use the Dinic Solvanation. Overall, that processing fee 4k, and those materials, once they're refined, will be worth 75k. So that's 70k for half an hour's mining. Not bad, not bad. So, hopefully you enjoyed this Prospector mining gameplay video. As always, if you did, please do let me know in the comments, press that like button, and again, if you're not already subscribed, you really might want to if you got this far, just so that you can see more of these videos in the future. Otherwise, and as always, thank you for watching.